Hi, and welcome. It's Maria Toso, and this podcast is a little recap of my last women's prosperity group. And I guess I want to clarify, when I say prosperity, I mean anything pertaining to prospering and flourishing in life. So it's not just about how can you get more money. That's just one aspect of flourishing and prospering in the world. So we meet every Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's 3:30 p.m. in Europe, where I live, and I have people from both sides of the pond joining. And it's just a very sweet, amazing group of women that come together and share in these practices for how to enhance life, how to live at a higher frequency, how to be more deliberate in what we put out there, and how we co-create our own lives. And each week we talk about different tools for doing that. So last Thursday we talked about the power of prayer, which is a little bit different from how you would normally think about manifesting and the law of attraction, where it's almost like you become in charge of the co-creating process. And that can sometimes feel a little bit like leaving out the magic of something much greater than what you could even grasp, something more miraculous. And I think that's where prayer comes in. And when we pray, we tend to pray to someone or something. And what I clarified in our time together was the way I see it is what you're doing when you call upon God, the divine, the mother universe, the universe, the great spirit, whatever your name for the great force of love is, in which all of this arises, and that is giving life to all of us. So whatever your name for that is, and that doesn't have to be even a name that's, commonly used in any religion. But when you call upon that, you're invoking the divine breath within yourself. So most of the time we walk around in this day and age feeling completely aligned with our smaller selves, our ego-based selves, our mind-based selves. And we identify with, what gender we are and what age we are and what we're doing in the world, what culture we come from, and all of those things. And the divine essence piece of who we are, who's actually the power that gives life to this more temporary experience of who we are right now, that part of us is the divine. It's the breath of God. It's the breath of life within us. So regardless of the name you use to call upon it, you ignite that piece of yourself. And it can come into play and kind of take over a little bit, because our ego-based minds are very eager to do something, to solve something, to analyze something, and to navigate. And it comes a little bit more from a perspective of life being more random. And when we invite the greater magic of who we truly are as divine beings into it through prayer, which is really just another way to invoke this power of co-creation. When we do that, we call upon the divine within ourselves to align in the best possible way with how to get to where we really want to go. And where we really want to go is spoken from our higher self perspective. And that may not be where our wounded, limited self want to go. So for example, your wounded, limited self might really want to be in a certain place with a certain person doing a certain thing. That might feel like, if only I had these 3 things in order, then I would be happy. So most of the strategies of the lower self is to get to a place of feeling safe and secure. Now, the higher piece of us, the divinely connected piece of us, has the ability to orchestrate things in a much broader way. You can almost think of it as, little puppets. Like each of us have a puppet. There's divine me that has a Maria puppet, and there's divine you who has a puppet by your name. And if the puppet starts to think that it is all it is, that it is not attached to this greater divine power that is actually guiding it and giving it life and making it able to move through the world, then the puppet is living in confusion. So I feel like prayer has a lot to do with surrender. It has a lot to do with, calling upon the puppeteer and saying, guide me toward what is for my highest good. And it can be very concrete and sort of in the actual life experience. These are the things I'm scared of, and this is, what I really want to have happen. But then ending it with something to the effect of, if it's for the highest good of everyone involved, I surrender this into your hands. I'm not sure what to do about this. I hand it over. I can't let my mind worry more about this. My mind is just spinning around this issue. It's not really taking me anywhere. So I decide now to surrender. So in the Yoga Sutras, we talk about Ishvara, Pranidhana, and Ishvara is one of the many names for God. And it refers to the ability to surrender to the divine, to say, okay, I'm actually just, it's an illusion that I'm in charge of my life. There is something much greater, and I'm calling upon that. And some of those things in life that bother us and that feel like challenges and obstacles, we're invited to take some of those things, identify them, separate out enough of them so that we can feel who we really are, that these issues are not who we are. They may seem really real when we are nose deep in them, but if we can separate out enough to see, okay, here are the 3 things that really bother me. And first of all, they're not all of who I am. They're not all of what my life is. And this higher part of me can now call upon something even higher than I can comprehend in my current state as I'm walking around in the world, to infuse these issues. So when we talk about surrender, there's a piece of that means, hand it over. When you say you surrender your troubles, you give over your troubles, but you're not handing them for someone else here on earth to solve for you, but you're taking them and putting them into God's hands, into the divine, into your own divinity, into your own higher self that has a perspective that your limited mind simply doesn't have. So, for what that's worth, those were some of the things we talked about, and then we worked a little bit with separating out from the confused, scared, worried part of us that doesn't feel adequate to certain challenges or doesn't feel like we can get through it or we know how to, and it feels overwhelming. So let that be okay. And then one exercise that we did was taking a pen and a paper, actually 2 pens and 1 piece of paper, and let your worried self be the left hand. Let that, and just because the left, or I would say your non-dominant hand. So put a pen in your non-dominant hand and let that be that more clumsy, insecure, maybe childlike part of yourself that feels not equal to a task. And then you write with that hand, I'm really scared of this. This really bothers me. This feels overwhelming. This feels scary. This makes me anxious. And spell it out. And then let your right hand take over, and let that be sort of symbolic of your more adult self, your healer self, your teacher self, the part of you that would step into character if someone else was deeply in trouble. You would just become that healer. I'm here. I've got you. It's going to be okay. Take a deep breath. That part of you. So now that part of you can communicate with the other part of you that doesn't feel that at all. And then you write with your right hand, almost like a letter or a message to that person. And rather than just hear me say that in a podcast as a fun idea, like really do it. Pause this podcast and go grab pen and paper, 2 pens, and try it. Because most of us have some kind of a pressing issue at any given time in our lives. That is that thing that makes us uneasy. It's rare that we're in a place in our lives where that's not so. And if it isn't so, then this exercise is not going to be important for you right now, but it might be at a later time. But say you do have that, then take this time right now to just scribble down, biggest issue in my life. I'm scared of this. I'm worried about that. I'm angry about this. whatever the emotions that come up, and let yourself feel those in the body as you write. And you might even pause this podcast and really give yourself some time to spell out with your left hand. It's going to be a little clumsy and maybe not so pretty. The things, and maybe just say it's the 3 top issues. And maybe there's really only one that really bothers you, and you can make the other ones up. See what comes, what might want to be expressed. And then when you've given yourself adequate time to do this, and it could be a while, first of all, because it's a little hard to write with your left hand or your non-dominant hand. And then once you feel like you've expressed that, you've given yourself an opportunity to express that, then take a moment and kind of shift gears. Feel your body, feel your breath. Do a little meditation where you really come into yourself fully. And you drop into the guru part of yourself, the teacher part of yourself. And in yoga, we would often talk about the divine light, the spark of the divine, as Purusha. It means little person that sits in the center of your heart. So you could almost imagine like a tiny little version of yourself, pure golden light in your chest that is the real seed of who you are, that has sprouted into this body based on, the content of your destiny, of your mind, of your karma and what have you. And then feel the connection between this divine self and your right hand in this case. So really feel that connection, and how when someone is sad, we have that instinct to kind of reach out our hand and touch someone and send love energy into that person. So that's what you're doing now for this scared part of yourself that you just expressed with your opposite hand. And then again, feel free to just pause the podcast and give yourself this time to write how you would write to this piece of you. What are first of all, you might be consoling, and then you might be empathic, and then you might direct and guide. Then you might say, okay, this is not as bad as it seems, and here's what we can do. Here are your possibilities. Here are your options, and maybe something more grand than that could even come in, because those were more sort of earthbound pieces of advice that I just cited there. But it could be something much bigger that would stream through you if you invited in your higher self, your heart self, to come in and communicate to this piece of yourself. So that was one exercise that we did. And then we also prayed, and I guided a prayer. And what I really urge everyone to do is to find your own prayer language. There's lots of prayers that have survived, through the centuries, and they're beautiful, and they do hold a certain potency because they've been said so many times, with a lot of dedication by a lot of human beings. But there's something very powerful about just letting it be really visceral in the moment, spoken from the heart, spoken from the piece of you that really needs to be activated. So you're speaking to your heart from your heart, if that makes sense. So it would go something like this. And this is just what comes to me in this moment. And you're welcome to take that and replace words that might feel more true to you, but you could also let this be an inspiration to write your own prayer and start to become kind of more eloquent. It's almost like a language that you develop where you address divinity and give it a word. So if you've had a bad experience, as some of the people that joined the group had with religion, then you're not going to want to use words that are commonly used in the religion where you didn't feel good or you were not treated right. Come up with something else. One person in the group said Mother Universe, I think, if I remember correctly. And that felt like another way to address the power of love. So, but find a way to address that, if you will. Invoke it is actually a better way to say it, to call it out, to call it forth, to bring it forward. So here we go. So let yourself drop in, sit for a moment, or lie down. If you're listening to this lying down, that's fine too. The way to become really present and to slow down the mind activity is to really feel your own body and feel your own breath. So you become very still and in the moment. Notice the cadence of your breath. Are you breathing all the way into your belly? What would it feel like to draw a little more breath in and to exhale a little more completely? Notice the sensation of your breath inside your nose. And notice the feeling of the breath as it's moving in your body. Maybe your chest is moving, maybe your belly. And now become aware of your hands. Start with the right hand. Notice where your right thumb is, how it feels. Without moving it or opening your eyes, see if you can really feel into the shape, the position, the energy in your right thumb. The tip of the thumb, the thumbnail. And once you have a good sense of, yep, there's my thumb, there's the energy present in my thumb, see if you can copy that over into the index finger, and then the middle finger, the ring finger, the pinky, the palm of the hand, the back of the hand. And notice how your hand is energy. What is the feeling of energy? What is the feeling in the center of the palm? And now can you copy that degree of awareness and presence in your right hand into the left hand? So you're sort of extending that same degree of awareness into all the fingers on the left hand, the fingernails, the tips of the fingers, palm of the hand, the back of the hand. Now feel both hands together. And now holding that degree of awareness in the hands, bring that degree of awareness into the feet without losing your brilliant awareness of the hands. Bring the same degree of awareness into the feet. Feel the heels, the soles of both feet, the balls of the feet, the top of the feet, the big toes, second toes, third toes, fourth toes, fifth toes, the toenails, ankles, see if you can feel your hands and your feet together. And now let whatever degree of presence you have in hands and feet expand to encompass not just the hands, but the hands, the wrists, the forearms, elbows and upper arms, shoulders, and let the awareness now expand from the feet into the ankles, lower legs, the calves, the shin bones, knees, the thighs, the buttocks, the pelvis, And now fill the whole of the torso with awareness, front to back, side to side, inside and out, like you're drenching your organs in awareness, like a beautiful light. The light of awareness, the light of focus, the light of being. Now up through the throat, sides of the neck, back of the neck, the face, the jaw, ears, scalp, the brain, the whole being, completely drenched in light. Mind more still. More alertness and presence within the body. And from here we pray. Dear God, or your word for the God, for the divine, for the creative principle of love. Dear God, I call upon you to be present in my life, to guide me, to heal me, to be with me. To ignite me, to ignite my will to exist, my will to be, my will to act in the world. And this issue that is haunting me, that feels too big for me, I lay it in your hands. I give my mind a rest, trying to solve it. This issue is troubling me, and I ask your guidance, your advice. I ask for your direction, for clarity, for miracles. And this other issue as well, I also lay that in your hands. And name the issue to yourself. Let it be known how much this bothers you and how stuck you feel and how hard it is to move on or move through it, to address it, to fix it. And allow yourself this moment to surrender to the divine by calling upon the divine. Dear God, this other issue also feels scary. I ask you to help me. I ask to bring your divine light into this situation. I ask everyone involved in this situation to be filled with the divine light of God, of the divine, of love. And if you have a third issue, bring that in as well. Dear God, this other issue is also bothering me. I am not sure what to do. I'm not sure how to handle it. This issue is scaring me, making me mad, sad, frustrated. Put some words on it. And dear God, I hold you in my heart. I hold you in my heart and I ask for you to hold me, to hold my life, my being, to guide my actions. And I ask for miracles to shower us. I ask for miracles in these situations, miracles of love, miracles of resolution, miracles that are for the highest good of everyone involved. I ask for love. I ask that the loving, divine seed within my heart may penetrate my body and radiate forth onto my path, onto all relationships and all situations. And I ask that I may recognize the divine in others and show me when the time is right, how I might move through these situations that I have presented. For now, I take them all and I lay them in your hands. I hand them over to the divine within, to the divine around, to the divine that penetrates all of us, that is the source of life itself. I let my limited analytical mind rest. And I decide that for 24 hours, I will not touch this issue. I will leave it be. Any of these issues, I will simply leave them be. When my mind wants to go there and wants to push me into solving by thinking about it, by talking about it, I remind myself that I have surrendered these issues into your hands. And I get to rest for now. My mind gets to rest and allow something greater, solutions I can't think of with my limited mind, to come in. My promise is to stay in my body, to feel my body, because it is within my body that my intuitive hunches are known. I ask to be held in your love and your protection. I ask that others may see me through eyes of love, hear me through ears of love, perceive me through love, and that I may do the same for others. That all hard edges may be smoothed out by love. This I ask by the divine love that resides at the core of my being. Amen. So be it, and so it is. Notice your breath. And when you do open your eyes again, see if you can stay this connected with your body. This connected with the faith within you. That's something much greater than what you identify with when you have your normal waking life is activated and working for you. And solutions, reconciliations, the power of love is all now inundating, showering these situations. And sometimes the situations can be a little dense. Sometimes the knots are hard. So let it be okay that it takes a little time for the light of the divine to penetrate into some of these situations. But the request has been made. You want love to saturate, to irradiate, to heal the situations that cause you trouble. And now your job is to rest and not allow your mind to spin. Your job is to nourish your body, to get fresh air, to be in nature, to do the little things, wiping your sink, organizing your fridge, cooking a beautiful meal, slowing down. Take a deep breath. So that was my offer of a possible way to pray and hand over some of the issues that feel stuck. I encourage you to get a notebook and write your own prayers, just like that. Handing over, naming the issues, and then asking for the divine within to step in, to infuse, and allow the mind to take a little break. Okay? So that's what I got for you. And if you are interested in joining the Women's Prosperity Group, it's quite simple. You go to www.mariatoso.com. Up on the top there's a banner and you can join. It's a drop-in group, so there's no commitment to return. You can just come once or many times. And again, we meet on Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's 3:30 p.m. in Europe. And I'd love to have you. There are also some additional resources for the Prosperity Group that you can find on my website right there under Women's Prosperity Group, you'll find some additional resources and recaps from former meetings that might be helpful. Okay, God bless. Bye.